Ex-cons. What was the hardest prison habit to break after being released? My friend once told me he got hooked on watching news channels and crappy daytime television. He said he also enjoyed listening to AM radio now, even though he knows specific podcasts exist that are more tailored to him. He unalived himself 3 years ago after getting a 20-year sentence just 1 year after getting out. A lot of people are asking questions, so I'll just go ahead and clarify here. At 18, he served a little over a year in prison for moving drugs, got out, violated parole, and got caught moving mass amounts of drugs and other things like breaking and entering, petty theft, which was going to send him back for at least 15 years. After the jig was up, he had a while where he was allowed to stay at home, where he then unalived himself with a 9mm pistol in the head. He survived the initial shot, but then he later died 2 days after going to the hospital. He was a great friend, and I knew him since elementary school. Top of our graduating class in high school, just too much exposure to the wrong people. Story 3. Constantly looking over my shoulder. By far the hardest conditioning to break, which I haven't and I doubt I ever will. It's the constant pessimism and cautious optimism. You see, when you're waiting to work your way through court, get a deal, and get sentenced, you will have your dates changed 50 times over, hope for certain things only to be disappointed, and anytime you are told something hopeful, it doesn't work out. As a result, I never get excited about something until it actually happens. When my wife told me we were pregnant, I already knew from her symptoms that she was, but still, you never know for sure until you take the test. I was obviously happy. But because I'm always cautiously optimistic and rarely show emotion, I couldn't feel comfortable or excited until I knew that my developing daughter was healthy. Even then, it didn't really hit me until she was born. You can apply this to anything, especially big events, getting engaged, planning the wedding, buying a house, literally anything. I still hear from my wife how I wasn't crazy surprised or excited to be having a kid. I was. I actually was the half of the relationship who was dead set on a kid when my wife supposedly could have gone either way. It's just, you can't get your hopes up or look forward to anything until it's here or has happened. I've been home for over 7 years now and with my wife for 6.5. She's truly the catalyst that motivated me to truly change my life and to not give any more of my life to the system. But she'll never know how happy she makes me because she misinterprets my cautious optimism and my realism for pessimism or for indifference. Story 4. My uncle was in prison for a while, and we've talked a bit about his experience and how it affected him. He has a hard time not being violent. You'd never guess since he mainly just sits in a corner and smokes. But he's been out for nearly 10 years and still always struggles with using his words. This guy cannot stand authority. He tells me that it's hard to listen to bosses when you know you are probably smarter and way tougher than them. He knows most people feel this way, but he just can't ignore it. He's taken up professional carving so he can be his own boss. He's really in touch with our native roots now, on account of joining a First Nations gang in prison. Doesn't talk much. I don't know if that's because of prison, but he really only speaks if he wants to. Not the type of guy who likes to talk just to talk. Doesn't have a lot. He has some sort of abandonment issues or something, so he doesn't want a lot of things to miss if he goes back to prison. For all the time he doesn't spend with people, he's out with nature or doing something in the wilderness. I think it helps keep him calm and feel connected. Nice enough guy, but prison kind of effed him up. I think he's going to live his life being slightly disconnected with people. Story 5. I did almost 7 years. I've been out for 2. I'm 35, from Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a law called truth in sentencing. You do 100% of your time. There are multiple head counts where the guards make sure that all the inmates are accounted for every morning at 5 a.m. I felt like I was doing something wrong if I slept past 5 a.m. It took me almost 6 months before I slept past 5. Even now, 6 a.m. is sleeping in for me. It has allowed me to never be late to work and show up every day. I was a dealer with no work ethic, and I slept until noon. Ironically, I am more successful than I ever thought I would be because of this habit. I actually just got poached by another company who offered me a 150% salary increase. Nice to see you, new tax bracket. In 2 years, I have become a model parolee. My life is great. I married my wife last September. I go to therapy for a multitude of conditions that manifested while I was a guest of the state. I was diagnosed with general and society anxiety disorder and PTSD. I was out a few months and I had a panic attack. I had no idea what was happening to me. I was literally paralyzed and afraid. I thought prison ruined me. It made me a better person in general. I am not praising Wisconsin DOC by any means. The guards dehumanized the inmates and treated us like pure garbage with no hope. They always told people, "You'll be back," but I won't be back. People that go back produce job security. They want people to come back so they can do what they can to steal your dreams. I changed myself. Prison allowed me to step back and really look at my life. I saw who I hurt. I saw who was there for me. I saw who abandoned me. I became focused on change after my third year. I contemplated self-unaliving because I wasn't even half done with my sentence. After I seriously thought about hanging it up, I committed myself to being the best human being that I could be. I revolted by behaving, teaching myself things, being positive. My life is now amazing. I'm surrounded by people who love me, who support me. All of the ex-cons reading this and people just interested in this thread, that label is bullcrap. We are human beings with feelings and we can change. Stay positive and stay hopeful. I'm telling you, please never give up. All of my fellow Redditors, one love. A freaking man, dude. I don't even come from the same place, but dude, I feel inspired by this guy. That's kind of freaking beautiful. Story 6. I'll just say this. I'm glad you were out. I hope you can find something productive and fun to do for yourself, and I hope you never go back. I was only in for one full day, and it was the worst experience of my life. I did some objectively crazy crap while I was in there, and I spent the whole time thinking they were going to send a gang of cops in the observed crazy tank I was in to kill me. I was an AdSec in a turtle suit. I contemplated self-unaliving the whole time I was there. I thought, hey, if I bang my head hard enough on this wall, would it work? Maybe I should try it. I was going through some dark stuff and some really rough crap at the time in there, and I barely even knew who I was. Hardest habit to break after coming out for me? The nightmares. The nightmares having been in there and the fear that maybe the cops still hold grudges. Good luck, man. Story 7. Mealtime was the hardest for me. It doesn't matter if you are hungry. If it isn't mealtime, you don't eat. When I first got out, I kept missing mealtime, the specific time when you are supposed to eat, sometimes only eating once a day. It took me weeks to realize that I could eat whatever and whenever I wanted to. I was all alone, sitting hungry with food in the fridge because I didn't eat an hour ago and I couldn't eat all the way until breakfast. A friend took me out to a pizza place a couple days after I got out, and the waitress asked me, "What's your favorite kind of pizza?" And I honestly didn't know how to answer the question because it didn't matter if you liked it. I actually thought about it and answered, "I don't know." And they looked at me like I was joking. It's been a long time, and I think I've broken most of my habits. I still don't feel comfortable in crowded spaces where I can't track every single person. I still have a hard time making decisions, and sometimes need people to tell me to do basic things because I just can't do them. Story 8. I can't believe how fast things move on the outside. I saw an automobile once when I was a kid, but now they're everywhere. The world went and got itself in a big dang hurry. The parole board got me into this halfway house called the Brewer and a job bagging groceries at the foodway. It's hard work. I try to keep up, but my hands hurt most of the time. I don't think the store manager likes me very much. Sometimes, after work, I go to the park and feed the birds. I keep thinking Jake might just show up and say hello, but he never does. I hope wherever he is, he's doing okay and making new friends. I have trouble sleeping at night. I have bad dreams, like I'm falling. I wake up scared. Sometimes it takes me a while to remember where I am. Maybe I should get me a gun and rob the foodway, so they'd send me home. I could shoot the manager while I was at it, sort of like a bonus. I guess I'm too old for that sort of nonsense anymore. I don't like it here. I'm tired of being afraid all the time. I've decided not to stay. I doubt they'll kick up any fuss, not for an old crook like me. That was the old guy from Shawshank, right? If it wasn't, I very much apologize for the voice. Story 9. Not me, but my uncles. They work out with whatever they can find. It wasn't uncommon for an uncle to be in our kitchen, benching or curling frozen meat. They would also just pace back and forwards in our tiny backyard or do push-ups wherever there was space, including the bathroom. They will still do a push-up wherever they have space, but they have developed normal workout habits. They also eat weirdly. One of them made a pizza for dinner and put the thing right on the rack, so parts of the pie dropped through the grill of the oven shelf. They still ate pieces of the pie right out of the oven, while the rest of us called for a pie. They would also just mix anything with their mac and cheese, like anything. They would just put anything on a honey bun, had large jars of peanut butter next to their bed, and had jelly on toast every morning. Story 10. Was locked up for 6 years as a youth. I was a gang member in Los Angeles and wasn't a very nice person in the late 80s and 90s. To this day, I avoid crowds and open seating areas for eating. When I do go out with my wife to eat at a restaurant, I always sit facing so that I can see the entire room. And I always sit at the edge of the booth with one leg on the outside of the booth so I can get up quickly, or on the edge of my chair if I'm seated in a chair. All the while I am scanning the room, memorizing faces, categorizing people, threats, no threats, etc. I listen to as many conversations going on around me at once within earshot, trying to identify threats while simultaneously listening to the conversation at my own table. My preference, of course, would be for there to be no conversation at my table and to just eat quickly and in silence. Just the act of the waiter or waitress interrupting me mid-meal to ask me how things are is extremely stressful for me because it interrupts everything else I'm trying to track around me. Obviously, this isn't normal behavior, so I try hard to make it all work and look normal, but on the inside, I'm literally waiting for all crap to go down. Another habit I had was when my wife and I first moved in together. She didn't realize that moving around me while I slept was a big deal. I would be dead asleep, and she would walk by the bed. Just the rustling of her pajamas or her cracking a toe across the room was enough to bring me up out of the bed. If she was close enough to the bed, I used to grab her and ask her what she was doing before I even came to, usually with a fist cocked back. Thankfully, this doesn't happen anymore, but the first 5 to 6 years of our relationship was rough. Where I was locked up, we lived in large dorm rooms with 25 to 30 people to a room, and you were a target for anyone who wanted to get at you while you slept, so naturally I slept lightly and perceived any and all sounds as a threat. Story 11. Not the penitentiary, but I spent just under 365 in a county jail, and everything's broken now. My life is okay relatively, but crap just doesn't work how it should. Hardest habit to break? The feeling of loss of self-worth. They take everything from you. It starts with your shoelaces until they take the underwear. You're no longer a member of society. Even after release, you fight to overcome the stigma, but it's almost not even worth it. If I lie, I will probably succeed in networking my way to a better future, but are my ethics and morals worth breaking over monetary success? Is monetary success even worth having? The police can take my property from me if used in the commission of a crime. What if just being alive is my crime? Crap, who knows or cares? Nothing matters, but you want to pick some good peeps to care about and get a dog or some crap and you gotta move to the woods or something. I don't know. F this crap. Story 12. I just spent 19 months hanging out with my fiance who did 10 years, and the things I've noticed are that he tends to wolf down his food really fast because they force you to eat in like 5 minutes. He also tends to have a habit of knocking on the table when he gets up, which is their signal to say I'm done and I'm leaving the table. He also has really aggressive reflexes and can respond to the slightest things in an overly in-your-face manner. I have been working with him on this and other things, which seem to be things that were programmed into him in prison, but don't really work on the outside, especially in a relationship. I've also noticed whenever we're watching a program, he will make really crude remarks, as if he's still hanging out with all the guys. I guess whoever can cut up the best during the movie gets the most attention, and he definitely comes up with some good ones, but none of them are something a female really wants to hear. He also tends to drag everything out and doesn't mind wasting a ton of time because it's all you have to do in there. But in the real world, you have very little time because you have to work, you got to do other things. Sometimes he really tends to run up a lot more time than he should and not get to the things that are worthwhile. It's as if he's become a hermit that likes to crate projects to peddle around just to make the time pass. But he doesn't realize that he doesn't have 10 years to burn up anymore. Time is limited. There is also a tendency to be hyper-territorial over the tiniest bit of property that he owns, even if it's the smallest thing that's insignificant to other people. He says in there you only get this tiny little bit of space, and I can imagine that the smallest things become huge in there, because that's your whole world. But when you're on the outside, you just can't sweat so much of the small stuff as you do in there, where it really becomes annoying. He also came out with a really hostile, racist attitude about certain things. Not that he is at all unkind to people. He will stop and help someone that's stuck in traffic with a broken car. He'll help no matter what race. But his mental state is different in those regards. And that is also something I've had a lot to say about, and he has improved a bit. If you understood the culture and the pressure in there, it makes total sense, but on the outside, it's not exactly welcome. Story 13. Being pessimistic. Nothing good happens in prison. Sure, you get commissary once a week, but between the court dates, ever-changing items of your sentence, and general prison atmosphere, it's easy to lose hope. I'm a year out of the prison and about 3 years out of incarceration. But even once you're out, it's not easy. Trying to find a job with a felony background? Once you get a job, try making it to work every day without a car. Then when you've decided you're 25 and shouldn't still live with your parents, try paying rent, along with all of your court fees and other bills, on a restaurant worker's wages. Oh, and did I mention the difficulty that comes with trying to socialize with people who are cautious to associate with you because of your past? I got into some dumb crap when I was a kid, and I accept what comes with that, but gosh dang it, I never knew it'd be this hard. Story 14. As a correctional officer, I find a lot of this interesting, as quite a few of these habits carry over into our lives. Not to diminish what is being said, I was able to go home every day, and my experiences were in a completely different spectrum. It is insane how much being just a guard changes you as a person. I can't relate to a lot of the physical stuff, sleeping, eating, laps, etc., but the emotional stuff? Yeah. When I got a job in the free world, after quitting due to rank, I had major issues with fitting in with normal folk. The attitude of, don't take crap stuck. I didn't trust management. I couldn't let slights just pass. I very nearly got fired from my first job after telling my managers to catch a square. All the man had done was belittle me, and I was going to beat him down to make a point. The other thing that still gets to me is when someone calls me boss. It is like I am suddenly on edge again, eyes on everyone around me, trying to recognize the guy talking to me. I don't know if he knows me or if there was some slight that had been building up, but I am just ready to throw down over the simple title. It bothers me quite a bit, especially with my family or my children around. Story 15. Here's something I've observed. It is literally impossible to sneak up on my dad. He went to prison 3 different times and it really shows. He's a small dude, but I know men twice his weight who say, I wouldn't F with that guy. He's a crazy mother effer. In his first few weeks out of prison for the last time, him and my mom had to sleep in separate beds. She'd put an arm around him and he'd throw her across the room and reach for something that wasn't there. You enter a room too fast and he's on his feet in an instant. If you walk next to him, he'll eyeball you every few seconds to see just what it is you're doing. When I was 12, he taught me to fight. I only know one way to fight, boy, and it's called yard rules. You will only fight if you have to. If you have a choice, run. If followed, then you fight. He taught me that you fight to make the other incapable of doing so. Your first strike should be to the eyes if you can hit them, but their guard might make that tricky. A good way to open their guard is to throw a haymaker followed by a strong jab straight to their jaw, specifically 6 inches behind their jaw. Their skull will rattle and give you time to hit their eyes. If the eyes are unavailable, hit the throat after opening their guard. If they can't breathe, they cannot fight. Eyes are the same. If they can't see, they can't get you. If you grow up like me, you'll be small, boy. So even the ground. Kick their knees next. Hard. Don't be afraid to break them. If they can't stand, they can't fight. If they can't stand, they can't chase you, and you can run. I've only had to use this advice once, and trust me, it works. Another thing is my dad will get very quiet at times. A far-off look in his eye. I've learned to not say anything to him when he does this. He gets very irritated if you break him out of it. I've never tried to ask what he's thinking about, and I'm not sure I want to know. He has 2 knife wounds, one in his side, under his ribcage, and a slash across his back. Both look kind of cool, but also like they hurt. He got both in the shower and are why he is very hard to sneak up on. My conclusion? My dad is a stone-cold mother effer with a loving heart and an odd sense of humor. Story 16. My brother pretty much came of age coming in and out of county detention facilities. I'm sure he always had oppositional defiant disorder. He has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I'm sure he is schizophrenic or suffers from some form of it. The whole idea of him remaining dominant due to having to exert that position to lock up carried over, and has really messed with our family for years now. My parents are only getting older, and there are no signs of him realizing that he needs to learn to take care of himself. Due to the way he grew up coming in and out of detention facilities, it is really hard to get him to understand the type of responsibilities he needs to learn in order to reduce the burden on our parents. His disorders have been worsened by the PTSD. That was a result of him going in and out of being locked up. My family is not sure what to do about the situation, and it seems to just be getting worse. The prison system, at least the American prison industrial complex, really does a poor job to rehabilitate offenders. It does cause and exacerbate mental disorders. then these folks are kind of just thrown away to live on the fringes of society. I really think it breeds silly socioeconomic conditions, and no one that could get the ball rolling on addressing this issue is ready to have that conversation. In short, it's all really effed up. Thank you for bringing up this subject. At least we can engage in this discourse.